All righty, everyone. I'm hoping everyone can hear me okay. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for a communities competition informational webinar. My name is Monica Groves from the Adult Literacy X Prize. So I'll be here giving you a little bit of an overview about the communities competition, what it takes to compete, register, and move through the proposal application process. First, I will share my screen and get moving. Alrighty, so starting today, like I said, we're talking about the Adult Literacy X Prize Communities Competition. We're going to go over some basics as well as have an opportunity for you to answer some questions. So there is a Q&A function or chat function to Zoom. Feel free to type in your questions there and we will be able to answer them for you. So looking at today's agenda, we're going to talk about our challenge, what's an X Prize, what are we doing with the Adult Literacy X Prize Communities Competition, and what it takes to compete. So we're funded by the Barbara Bush Foundation and the Dollar General Literacy Foundation, and the Adult Literacy X Prize as a whole is a two-stage competition to improve access to adult basic education and ESL for adult learners in the United States. Had our apps development competition, and now we're moving on to our communities competition, which is all about distributing the winning apps of the apps development competition. So our mission is to empower millions of adult learners in the United States to acquire the skills they need to advance their education, find better work, or simply read a bedtime story to their children. So in the communities competition, we have where the winning solution of the apps development competition will be distributed, and the winning team will have the most learners who the apps. And our goals are pretty much to demonstrate effectiveness of the apps, accelerate innovation when it comes to mobile learning, expand access to mobile learning to help adults wherever they are, and really spur investment in adult basic education and literacy. And so right now we have 5 finalist teams who have developed apps, and those apps are going to be judged later on this year, and they'll be decided on which ones will be the winners, and those winning apps will be what you'll decide from which to distribute. There is an option, so there may be up to 3 winning apps. There can be an overall winning app, an app with the highest gains in those who are native speakers of Spanish, and an app with the highest gains in native speakers of English. So we'll find that out early next year. You'll, as a communities competition competitor, will be able to decide which of those winning apps you'd like to distribute, and then you'll get a unique URL or code to distribute those apps to learners in your area. And so those 5 finalist apps have been tested. We're in a 15-month field testing, and right now those are being conducted in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and Dallas. And one of the things about this is that it makes us one of the largest adult education programs in the U.S. for native speakers, Spanish and English at this literacy level, which is about a 4th grade literacy level. And so we have $1 million from our awesome competitors, from our awesome sponsors, to be able to incentivize the community to help us distribute these winning apps. So the communities competition challenges communities and organizations across the country to empower low literacy adults to download and use a free, effective, convenient, and private mobile learning tool. Those apps are all Android-based, and they can all be used without the internet. So once someone clicks the unique code you give them, they download. But beyond that, they can use the apps and the modules in their entirety without the internet. And we're really thought that way because we want to increase accessibility. And the best way to do it is to be able to make it free, to use off the internet. And looking at those that we serve, they're likely going to have a Metro PCS, pay-as-you-go type of phone. So we wanted to make sure that the apps were used on the phones that learners already have. And so looking at that, we want to know how to win in the communities competition. In phase 1, you'll tell us how you will revolutionize adult education in your community, and we will award $10,000 to the 50 best proposals. In phase 2, the 3 competitors who recruit the most people to download and use free apps will win their share of an additional $500,000. So phase 1, in detail, tell us how you will increase access to adult education for learners using the apps from the Adult Literacy X Prize team stage. And the proposals will be judged for their potential for impact, innovation, feasibility, durability, and scalability. And so this is the process here, just looking at step by step. And next what we're going to do is go into the actual prize operations platform and move through the application so you can see what the questions are and how you get the answers. So this is a brief snapshot of the steps that move through the communities competition, which is registering, creating a profile, create your team. You can add team members. So if you're in an organization or if you're in a coalition, you can add team members. Apply, just turning in your application and your proposal. There'll be a peer review, and those who move beyond the peer review will be able to go to expert review, and those experts will decide those 50 teams who have the best proposal, $1,000. We'll prep for deployment in January 2019, start distributing the apps via that unique code or URL you receive in April, and then the 10 best performing teams will go to another judging review in which we'll find those top teams, or those 3 teams that did the best in actually distributing apps. So looking here, this is a snapshot of the timeline. Your registration deadline, December the 8th. Your proposal phase or your application due December 21st. The milestone awards for those 50 teams with the best proposals are awarded in March 2019. April 1, we start distribution of the app. So this is when you're executing your proposal on all the cool things you said you do to be able to increase access. And then that closes August 31st with that additional $500,000 being awarded in September 2019. So moving beyond this screen, what I will do is now share my internet screen. So I'll make sure we're there next. Give me just a second. And I'm also checking to make sure we don't have any questions right now. So now I'm going to move on to the portion of doing the video and being on the website. So if you go to communities.xprize.org, that's where you'd go to find more information about the communities competition and to register. Sorry, I have the wrong thing up here. Minimize that. Alrighty. So here at the very top, let me share the screen. Hope you guys can see that. So here at the very top, you'll have a line that says, registration is open, register. This is the first place you'll go, communities.xprize.org. It's our public-facing website where you'll learn more about the competition. You'll also be able to read information about the guidelines and things of that nature, which are down here. So beyond that, if you're looking to register, because we're all about getting you registered, and you want to create a profile, you click register now. Click it here or up top here. I'll click here. Once you're here, this is our prize operations platform, or POP as they call it. This is where you go, create your account, add team members, and start your actual proposal and application. So if you're looking, you need to set up an account. Once again, you'll register. And one thing to point out and one thing to do is make sure you bookmark this page once you're here. So the page where the POP or the prize operations platform is ids.xprize.org/community. So this is the POP or prize operations platform where you'd go and do all of your work for the communities competition. So let's say you've already registered and we have an account. So you put in your username, password, and log in. And it looks similar to the public website. So you see the lady with the glasses, you know you're in the right place. So this is the POP, which looks very, very similar to the public-facing website. So you've already registered as a user. Now you're going to go to create your team. Over here in the right-hand corner, you'll see My Team. You'll click My Team. And now you're in the area where you can go and do more information about your team. So if you wanted to add more team members, you could do that. Right now, my test team only has 1 team member. But if you want, you can add more. So if you wanted to manage the team, that is where you'd go to add or invite more team members. So right now, you'll manage teams, and you find here, find or invite team members. And below, once you add more team members, you'll see that next to you as the administrator or team leader for your team. Now, the resources tab is really important. In the resources tab, that is where you'll find information that is going to help you understand what you need to do in the competition, such as the guidelines. In the guidelines, you'll be able to read from the very beginning who's eligible to compete, what it takes to compete, deadlines, and things of that nature. I know one thing that I didn't touch on were how to compete in the distribution, because there's two phases. You know, phase one is all about doing the proposal and talking about how you do really great work. But when you get to phase two, you'll be able to pick a tier. And this is what I wanted to give you guys information on. The tiers here, based on your preference, you choose a tier to compete in phase two, which is all about the distribution. Distribution and deployment are the same word. We kind of use them interchangeably. So you may see in some places where it says deployment phase or distribution phase, they're the same thing. So when you register and create your team, you will have to select a tier. Tier 1 is for an organization or community that can get 5,000 minimum downloads, and the team with the highest percent of usage of the app that you chose in that tier wins $350,000. The team with 1,500 minimum downloads in Tier 2 wins $100,000. You have to have the highest percent of usage in Tier 2. And then in Tier 3, there is no minimum download threshold, and it's just the team with the highest percent of usage wins $50,000. Now, you can switch tiers. The deadline for switching a tier or to go lower is December 31st. There is no deadline for switching to a higher tier. And usage is defined as a user using the app that you chose on 3 separate days during the distribution or deployment phase. So between April 1st and August 31st of 2019, if a learner uses that app on 3 separate days, that constitutes tracking the percent of learners that do that with the app that you chose for them to download. So moving back up, we're going to go back one page, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about what else is in this resources tab. We do have the phase 1 scoring rubric. So if you're wondering exactly how will things be scored, you'll be able to look at that. And phase 1 is the proposal phase. So when we were talking about the scoring criteria, which was like scalability, feasibility, durability, you will find details on that here. So each criteria will be listed with a description and a listing of 0 to 5 of what's most innovative, most like not very innovative, most impactful, not very impactful. I want you to be aware that in this resources tab, you'll find a plethora of information that will help you understand what you need to do. And so phase 1 scoring under the resources tab is where you will find information about how the proposal phase will be scored. We also have documents about fairness, and then we have a document about phase 2 proposal, and sorry, the phase 2 or deployment or distribution scoring. So going there, scroll down, be able to see more information about the tiers, of course, who can win, the beginning tallying of downloads, measuring of usage. You know how I said how someone had to use the app on 3 separate days between April 1st and August 31st. There's details on that as well, and some details on other judging requirements. You'll also have links to go right back to the guidelines, a link to directly go and register and submit your application, and also a link to the FAQs, which you can find in the resources tab. Alrighty, going back to our resources tab, I want to make sure you know everything that's in here. Once you are a registered team, you can come into this area and look at the style guide. This style guide will help you know what kind of fonts, colors, logos, and how to use the assets we put together for the community's competition. The style guide will help you be able to move through and really be able to do some cool things. It may be a great thing to look at before and during while you're doing your proposal to really help you be able to map out some of the things that you would like to do. So I'll just do a little scroll down, and this is in a PDF, so it's something you can download and share with those in your organization or within your coalition that you're competing with. All right, back to the resources tab. We have pilot offers currently for registered communities competition teams. Once you register, you can go to the communities competition website or the POP. You hit pilot offers. The 5 finalist teams are allowing the communities competition teams to be able to get a peek or a sneak preview into their apps before you decide which ones to distribute, or before we even know which one or which ones will win in 2019. So these will be up until December 31st of 2018. Read each team's pilot offer and follow the instructions given. The pilot offer terms are not all the same because they're all 5 different teams and organizations who developed these 5 finalist apps. So click that document and look in there. And also, we started putting up videos that'll help you through the process, in addition to these live community competition webinars to help you move through. So, and you can find these on our YouTube channel. We want to always make sure that we're recording things and putting it out there on a public platform so people can see them. So you'll see the how to win, the phase 2 scoring, how to register, and then also learning more about the 5 finalist teams and their apps. So you can go here in the resources tab of the POP and be able to look at those videos. You can also find them on our public YouTube channel, which is Adult Literacy X Prize. So that is our resources tab. Next, we can move on to the actual application itself. The application will be split into a couple of activities. So each part is an activity. So of course, there's always going to be terms and conditions and things to agree to, making sure you're a U.S. entity and that you abide by the rules of the competition. And each part of the application will be a different activity. So your elevator pitch, if you're wondering, what is my elevator pitch? You provide a high-level explanation of your team's approach to distributing the app. So if you want to start your elevator pitch, you go to Start. And below, you'll see your elevator pitch, an explanation of what you need to put in there in 100 words. And make sure you save always. So you can always save and go back. And I suggest you also make sure you save your answers beforehand in an actual Word document or whatever word processing program you have, so that'll help you for reference. Also, there's an option of doing a video pitch. And you'll be able to upload that to your streaming or video watching platform of choice, usually YouTube or Vimeo, and it gives you details on what that should be if you decide to do that. And be sure to save. All right. Sorry, that chat popped up. And also, one important thing is to say who you are. So looking here, you say who you are in 150 words or less. You describe your team, if your team's just your organization, or if it's a coalition, or a group of organizations working as one. You can do that. You can describe the community, who you're serving, your leadership, why you want to be a part of this. You also talk about your organizational structure. So these drop downs allow you to say, what kind of organization or individual you are. It also, one thing to drive home is that you must be a legal U.S. entity or individual to compete in the community's competition. This is a United States-based program and competition. So that's one thing to drive home, is that your learners also must be based here in the U.S. And you'll just go through some of these informational questions, and this kind of helps give us information about you. Information will not be judged, just information that allows to give kind of parameters or scope or context for the panel of judges when they have information about the teams, but this is information that will not be judged. And also, what will you do? So this is like all the cool ideas you have about how you're going to distribute the app and really meet and touch as many people as possible by distributing the app. And so you'll see you put in your strategy, there's word limits, so that gives you some good parameters, your tactics, timelines, and that's good to have you look well out in the future, work backwards on how you plan to execute, and any risks. This is good to be able to think about risks and see if there's any way you can mitigate those. And what you do to protect learners, because that's important. We also want to protect learners. I know there were maybe some questions, we had a couple about, will you be able to track student usage of, how they're moving along? Is there any way you can help, increase or decrease anything that needs to be done towards your curriculum? And we will not be tracking student usage. What you can do is reach out to the app developers whose app you chose to distribute and see if they have data that they can share directly with you. But looking at the climate in the country, we want to make sure that we're not asking for any personally identifying information. So we will not be tracking, student progress through the apps. What we will track is the number of downloads, and of course, how many people use the app on those 3 separate days during distribution. Moving down, once again, you'll see some of those criteria that I talked about, scalability and durability. as well as an opportunity to upload samples of your work. And so you'll be able to see that there. And if you're wondering where can you find this application or what's going to be asked beforehand, before you get into any of these activities below, what you can do is go to the Resources tab, and in the guidelines, in section 2.1, so we'll have to scroll down to 2.1, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. We'll get there. You'll see a link to Phase 1 application form. This is a PDF that you can download, and you'll be able to see all the questions that will be asked in those activities that are in the POP. So if you open that document, PDF, and it gives you an overview of the application, your activities, what you'll be able to put in there. So if you're in a coalition, this is a great document to be able to share with your coalition members if you're all working on answering these questions together. You come together and put your minds together. This is a document that pretty much mirrors what's in the POP as far as your activities and what you'll have to fill out. It's a great way to be able to work on some of your answers before actually getting into the POP and putting things in an electronic format. So once again, that's in the Resources tab, in the guidelines, in section 2.1. So going back, I want to make sure that everyone now has time for questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to put the questions in the Q&A or the chat box, and we will see if we can get some answers to any of your questions you may have. So please do that now, and we're going to work through questions in a little bit. I will share my screen. So if anyone has questions or needs clarification on anything, please feel free to type your questions into the chat box or into the Q&A, and we will work through those questions together. And also when we receive questions, if they're like a major question or a question that could be something that people will really want to know, I'll make sure that these questions are incorporated into the FAQ in the POP. You do not have to be a 501c3. This is open to any legal U.S. entity in the United States, any for-profit, nonprofit, or individual that's based here in the U.S. You do not have to be a 501c3. You do not have to necessarily be a school. It could be someone in your community who's passionate about adult literacy, who would really love to start a program where there is no program, where you see a need. You don't have to be a 501c3. I hope that answers the question. And thank you for that question. I realized I did not take you guys through the FAQ. The FAQs are pretty high level, but they do give you like a quick snapshot into some of the questions they make about the competition rules. If you're in a bit of a rush and don't have time to like really sit and go through all of the guidelines. So let me show you that, and then I will come back to our question. Just a second. Alrighty, hopefully you guys can see my screen. So FAQ, they're always in the POP. Before you go to my team, you'll see them over here in overview, resources, and FAQs. If you've already went to your team area, you won't see them. But if you go back before you get to the My Team area, you'll see them right here. So something about the competition rules, that is a requirement there. So you had a question about who can compete. You'll find the details there. How do I win? Of course, it's a really good question. We all want to know how we can win. You have things about the scoring, things about use of the app, things about the tiers. Can organizations collaborate? Yes, you can collaborate. Please feel free. If you already work with organizations in your area, feel free to collaborate. And also information about the learners. So if you have some questions or you want to send someone to where they can get some of their questions answered, you can find them here in the FAQ. And with that, I will stop sharing and go back to Q&A. So give me just a second to get that back up. Ready? One thing that I have seen, I don't know about the iCloud email, and what I will do is I'll contact our IT department, Camila, and double check. One thing I have seen is that if we get an email that's a generic email like admin@gotoschool.org or info@gotoschool.org, sometimes when we send in emails, it's not recognizing that as a bona fide email that goes to a particular person. So that does happen. But what I will do is I'll double check with our IT department. And I do have a list of attendees. So Amelia, I'll reach out to you and double check if what's going on with iCloud emails and if there's an issue with our servers or anything like that. Let me write that down so I can contact our IT department on that question. All righty. Okay, our next question. Hi, Amanda. Thank you as well. We're wondering about the need to add others to our official team versus planning to work with them as partners, but not adding them to the team per se. Can you describe more about how we should approach that part of the competition? So if you're partnering with another organization or entity and you guys intend to work together, split the monies that you win, it's up to you guys about the terms in which you'd like to add them as official team members, or if they're just an affiliate who's not receiving any money and they're just willing to help you. You don't have to necessarily add them as a team member if they're just there as an affiliate that's helping you distribute. But if they're an actual bona fide team member or team and they're actually distributing and will be a part of the funds that will be distributed, it could be beneficial to add them as a team member. But there's always a team lead. So there's one thing you have to decide on. Of the coalition, what person will be the team lead? And in that, we can only distribute monies to one organization. We can't split up the $10,000 and give $2,000 to a couple of organizations. So you have to decide as a coalition who's the team. What organization will receive the funds, one, and in what time frame those monies will have to be dispersed. So that's something you can talk about with those that you are competing with as a coalition, as a group of organizations in your area. So there is an option of having actual team members where you're all working together to do everything as far as the proposal, distribute, and work to actually get additional funds for everyone to share. Or there's an instance when I was out traveling where the organization was like, you know what, because we are a grant giving organization, we don't want to take any money from anyone, but we'd love to help them distribute without, taking any money or being really a part of the work to get it done. So in that instance, that could just be an agreement with you without having to acknowledge them as an actual team member at all, because they're not, they are just helping. Hopefully that answered your question. Give me a thumbs up or a yay and nay if I need to expound more upon that. Alrighty, have another question. How about the students that do not know how the smartphone or a computer? How do we make sure they participate? This is something that you put in your proposal, because that proposal is going to talk about impact. How are you reaching people? So do you guys need to do a class or a one sheet or a quick presentation on how to use the smartphone? that's something that you can do to increase participation and increase access by making sure people who are lacking some digital literacy skills have that. Therefore, they can use technology to increase their educational opportunities. And hopefully that answered. If not, hit me back in Q&A or chat, and I'll make sure that I try to go in more detail and be more clear in how I'm explaining. Have any more questions? Anything you thought of? Like, we always tell like kids, no question is a silly question. So please feel free to ask. If you're wondering where to find something, if you don't know how to do something, please feel free to ask. And if you ever have any questions, you can always email us at adult.literacy@xprize.org. I know sometimes you're on the spot and you're like, I don't have any questions. Get home tonight and you're like, crap, I have questions. You can always email us, even outside of this platform, and we'll make sure that we get an answer to you. And what we will do is have this recorded, put on our YouTube channel so that you'll be able to go back and reference it, able to share it in case you're in an organization and you want your coworkers to know more about it because they weren't able to get on today. Or if you're like Amanda, you're thinking about doing a coalition or a group of organizations working as one and somebody wasn't able to get on, you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel and share out the videos. The Adult Literacy X Prize is all about literacy in reading and increasing English literacy skills in adults here in the U.S. I know I mentioned digital literacy when answering another question, but that's something that you could think about in the instance where may not be the most technologically savvy, correct word. You'll be able to give them a little bit of training, guidance, how to be able to use technology to help them increase their actual learning English literacy skills. So digital literacy can be like knowing what the icons mean on the phone, knowing what the power button is, or knowing like I should go hit this little arrow that turns that way and goes back. So that's something that helps them to be able to move through and understand the functions of piece of technology so that they can increase their literacy reading skills. All right, we have 10 more minutes. This usually runs about 45 minutes. So if there are any other questions, please feel free. I want to make sure I give time, so don't feel really pressured, but also please know this is a safe space and open space. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in Q&A or in the chat box, and I'll make sure I get an answer for you. And in the Q&A box, there will be one question that I didn't mark as answered because that's something I'm going to have to follow back up with on the iCloud email. So we'll see that little icon. That's the one question I'm leaving there because I have to follow up directly with our IT to get an answer on it. I don't want to dismiss it. Make sure that it's up there. And what I'll do is I'll point out a feature of the POP. Give me a second, because sometimes you're on the website and you may feel that you're having an issue, some technology, a technical issue with the website, and trying to figure out how to move around that and how to. So what I will do is show you where you can get some help, the IT. So if you look down here in the bottom right corner, there is question mark and a gray ovally like thing. You click that and it will be able to generate and help you find, oh, and that subject can be if you're having technical issues, or if you, even if you have questions about the competition, they get routed. So if it's a question about something technical, the website's not working right, there's a link that's not working right, our IT team will be able to work directly with you to help troubleshoot that issue, even if it is a question about the competition. You can also put your question in there and we route it. If it's something competition related, you're on the ALXP team, get the email and we're able to answer you directly. If it's IT related and technical, our IT team will work directly with you to make sure they get that issue fixed. I want to make sure you know that this is here in case you're on the website having issues with navigation or have a question, always put it here. Or if it's more competition related, you have another option of emailing us at adult.literacy@xprize.org. So guys, I take it we don't have any other questions. And it's okay if you don't have questions now. Like I said, you can always email us, adult.literacy@xprize.org, and we'll be able to get an answer for you. I'll make sure that you know what's going on, what's coming up, all that cool stuff. One thing that I would like to do is let you guys know when our next community competition webinar is. So if I go back, I'll be able to give you. And our next webinar is Thursday, November 15th. We have monthly webinars. And so we'll make sure that at the conclusion you'll get an email and also the details on that webinar. Sometimes questions come up with one webinar that weren't asked last one, so we want to make sure that you know what's going on. And with that, if there's no more questions, I'll make sure I can wrap up. For some of you guys, it's getting close to lunchtime. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, learning about the Adult Literacy X Prize, and learning how you can transform lives through literacy and win $1 million that you put back into your adult basic education programs, classes, GED, things of that nature. So thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out, adult.literacy@xprize.org, and I'll make sure for your reference, I have one more screen share about the actual timeline. So this is the timeline for the competition. This is on the website and also in the prize operations platform where you register. So I'm letting you know the registration deadline is December 8th. That is the deadline by which you have to register, create a profile, and create a team. So you have to put in your personal information as team leader, but also come with a team name and all that good stuff. December 21st is the deadline for you to turn in your application and the proposal. So get started on it now so that it's not a mad dash and a rush to the deadline and at the end. Also letting you know the milestone awards for those 50 best proposals will be awarded in March 2019 with the deployment of the app you choose. It's starting in April, ending August 31st. Then the winners that have the highest percent of usage in the 2 years get their award and their share of that last $500,000 in September 2019. So what you can do next is go to communities.xprize.org, register, create a team, and start your application. And that is it. Camelia, I will follow up with you offline on that issue with iCloud. I'll talk to our IT department. In the meantime, thank you everyone for joining us. Hope you learned a lot. And I look forward to seeing you soon. If you ever have any questions, make sure you reach out, adult.literacy@xprize.org. Thank you so much and have a good one. Bye-bye.